North Point shopping mall was supposed to close at 11 every night, but people in the city knew that rule didn't mean much. Teenagers stayed late, cleaners worked overnight, and security guards often let customers finish shopping even after the shutters were down. The mall was old, far older than it looked. Before it became a shopping center, the building had once been used as an emergency shelter after a factory explosion decades earlier. Hundreds of people were brought inside for safety, but when fire broke out, several exits were locked to prevent chaos and theft. Many people never escaped. The building was later renovated, the story buried, and the mall reopened as if nothing had happened. One Friday night, 4 friends, Ryan, Emma, Josh, and Lily, decided to visit the mall late. They wanted to grab food, walk around, and watch a late movie. It was already close to closing time when they entered, but the mall was still lit and felt normal. Soft music played. A few people were still around, and nothing felt dangerous. They laughed, browsed stores, and eventually split up, agreeing to meet near the cinema in 20 minutes. When Ryan and Emma stepped back into the main corridor, something felt wrong. The music had stopped. Most store shutters were down. The lights were dimmer, casting long shadows across the floor. There were no people, no cleaners, no guards. Their phones showed no signal. The digital directory screens flickered, stuck between 11:59 and 12, looping again and again. Ryan called Josh's name, but his voice echoed unnaturally, stretching down the hallway like it didn't want to come back. They headed toward the food court and found it completely empty. Trays were still on tables, drinks half finished, as if people had vanished in the middle of eating. Suddenly, they heard footsteps above them, slow, uneven, dragging. The escalator turned on by itself and began moving upward, against every instinct telling them to leave. They followed it. Halfway up, the escalator stopped. The lights behind them shut off one by one. On the upper floor, mannequins stood outside closed stores, but something was wrong about them. Their heads were turned toward the escalator. Some faces were cracked. Some mouths were stretched open as if frozen mid-scream. Emma whispered that they needed to leave. But before they could move, the mall speakers turned on. It wasn't an announcement. It was a voice, low, burned, and broken, saying, "The doors are locked." Josh's voice suddenly echoed from somewhere nearby, screaming for help. But it didn't sound like him anymore. It was distorted, layered, as if several voices were speaking through his mouth. Ryan and Emma ran toward the sound, passing emergency exit doors that were welded shut, their handles melted into the metal. The air grew colder, and the smell of smoke filled the hallway. They reached the old cinema corridor marked "Restricted." Lily was sitting on the floor, rocking back and forth. Her skin looked gray, and her eyes were wide with terror. She kept whispering that they were still burning. She said Josh had been pulled through the wall by people with blackened faces and empty eyes. Before Ryan could respond, the lights went out completely. In the darkness, something moved. Not footsteps, but bodies dragging and crawling. Cold, burned hands grabbed at their legs. Voices filled the air, dozens of them, whispering the same sentence over and over. "We waited, now you will too." The walls began to change. Paint peeled away, revealing scorched concrete beneath. Store signs melted into twisted shapes. The mall no longer looked like a mall. It looked like a shelter on fire. Figures emerged from the darkness, men, women, children, skin blistered, Clothes fused to their bodies, eyes burned white. Some carried shopping bags. Some held charred children by the hand. All of them were staring. One stepped forward and grabbed Lily. She screamed as she was dragged backward, her fingernails tearing off as she clawed the floor. Ryan tried to reach her, but invisible hands held him in place. Emma collapsed, gasping, clutching her throat as if smoke was filling her lungs. Her screams turned into coughing, then silence. Ryan was the last one standing. The burned figures surrounded him. One leaned close and whispered, "You stayed after closing." Ryan woke up the next morning in a hospital bed. He was alone. Police told him he had been found wandering outside the mall at 6 a.m., screaming and covered in ash. There was no record of Emma, Josh, or Lily ever entering the mall. Security footage showed Ryan walking in alone and walking out alone, talking to no one. The mall reopened 3 days later, cleaned and repainted, looking perfect. But workers now say that after midnight, exit signs flicker, alarms go off without reason, and mannequins are sometimes found blocking emergency doors. And if you stay long enough, after the lights dim and the music stops, you can hear voices in the walls whispering softly, "The doors were locked.